Hello and welcome back, most illustrious members of the Detail. I'm your host D, also known as MTF Doom, and today, for once in my goddamn life, I'm reviewing next season's releases before they're actually out. I hope you're proud of me, and I hope you enjoy. Just before we get into it, as always, a deep, profound thank you to everyone who has stuck around, who still supports this channel. I know I've been in I've been in mostly just daily mode for the last half a month or so, and I think that shows. I really have been enjoying Brews Day. I still really enjoy hanging out with everyone in Discord and getting to know people and just forging these weird internet friendships that I so live for. But I'm going to continue doing that type of stuff, and I have a lot of my kind of unhinged videos coming up, but we'll see if this month changes anything, and if not, expect there to be maybe 2 videos a week instead of 5 or 6, because the game is still fun, but it doesn't have my attention the way that some other games have caught my attention, so I just want everyone I want to set expectations. I don't want anyone to feel like I'm not living up to what I've promised, which was at one point daily Marvel Snap content, but is no longer the case. So we're going to get into it. This is the Phoenix Force. This is the actual season pass card. So if you pay the $10, you will get this card in exchange. It is a 5/6. On reveal, revive one of your destroyed cards and merge with it. That card can move each turn. I have an idea of where this is going to be good. It is probably not in a destroy deck, although in the right shell this could be good, but I think I'm going to have a deck lined up at the end of this. I might save it till Brews Day, or I might do something different for Brews Day. You'll just have to wait until the end or skip ahead to find out. But in general, I think the generic destroy deck is a little worse, especially because usually you're running things like Bucky Barnes and the Hood, and both of those would be really bad for this card. So we want to do more interesting things than that. So I have some ideas. I'm gonna put them forward. You know what? Treat yourself. I'm gonna put them forward at the end of this video. So enjoy those. Overall, I'm very hype on this card. I mean, you know me. You know I love destroy. We had the Spider-Man 2099 destroy deck that we were playing for Brews Day that was super fun. It's not the best way to play that card, but I really like, and I missed pointing this out, but for Spider-Man 2099, the thing that I like about him is that with Killmonger, you can sometimes get more targets or more total power off the board, and with Shang, you're always going to hit their big stuff. But if they don't have particularly impactful 1-drops, or they don't have anything with over 9 power based on priority, either of those could have very little impact. And so Spider-Man 2099, the ability to always kind of have some impact, I value really highly. And it's a more you can play it, I think, in a lot more decks than either of those other two. Shang is usually always relevant into any given meta, but Killmonger can be really bad on some games and exceptionally good in others. And 2099, I really like that he kind of cuts the difference. And if you're also playing Killmonger, you can kind of put your thumb on the scale and get rid of all their ones and then move 2099, and therefore hopefully guarantee hitting at least a 2 or 3 cost, which is generally going to be enough stats to make him good. Phoenix Force is kind of in the same boat if we look at it through that lens of a 5/7 that can move each turn is just vision. So if this gets 1 power and not 0 or negative power, you're kind of okay. If vision was already going to be okay, then this card is already going to be okay. But we want to put our thumb on the scale, and I think Negasonic is going to be pretty good for this deck in general. I do wonder if merge with it will come with any additional caveats. If this gains the Negasonic ability, that would be bad. You know how that would be bad. And I almost feel like it's gonna, but I don't know that that's been like revealed yet. But regardless, depending on whether or not this carries any meaning other than like their stats are added, that'll change the kind of build we're going to use for this card. But overall, again, I really, really like the card. I really like that it is going to slot fine into the generic destroy deck, but it's going to slot good into like a deck that you can build around this effect and have it be like meaningfully good. So overall, a hype on this card. Really appreciate that this is the season pass card, because especially with the changes to tokens, I hope they continue to put like the more interesting cards in the season pass, so because you're going to get the other cards so much slower. This season, I don't think I'll be able to afford any of the regular season Pool 5 releases. So big appreciate on this being the case, and I hope we see the other cards enter the special cash system sooner than later. Okay, next up we have Jean Grey, a 3/3 ongoing. Players must play their first card here each turn, if possible. This is bonkers. This is a sick card. I already love the Kitty Pryde decks. This changes, like, this doesn't slot into the Angela Bishop Kitty Pryde deck, but it gives Kitty Pryde a new axis of attack, being that you can keep redeploying Kitty Pryde into the Jean Grey lane without filling it, while your opponent might not be able to do so, and that's really good. Like, the ability to force your opponent to fight you in a lane that you can win because it's a good location, or because you can, like, commit some other card that's going to, like, destroy them, is just a really good effect. Ultimately, this makes 6 costs, like, really hard to play again, and 6 costs have, like, they were okay, and they became, like, quite good with some different nerfs to the meta, to different cards in the meta, but I think they're going to struggle again right now when Jean Grey comes out, based on how many people end up getting her. But this is a really fucking cool effect to me. This is really cool, and I'm very excited to play with this card. Next up, we have Echo, a 1/2. After your opponent plays an ongoing card here, remove its abilities. This is the most boring card. It's very utilitarian. The fact that it's a 1/2, I think, is probably better for the game because of things like Killmonger, and to a lesser extent, although I've seen it recently, what's her name? The 1 cost that destroys another 1 cost in the lane? Electra. I for some reason, I've seen people playing Electra, and I don't really know why, but, like, I'm down. I like it. I like that card sees some play. If this were a 2 or something, I think it would be a lot harder to rationalize playing, or rationalize being in the game, rather, because this ability can just, like we already know Cosmo is, like, not seeing very much play. I've talked about this, how Cosmo has looped around to being a gotcha card because fucking no one is playing him. So, like, this would be really bad in a Cosmo meta. Like, it would be bad for Cosmo players. He's already so undervalued that, like, I don't know what this is gonna do. You know, are you, like, playing this to beat Darkhawks? Maybe you're playing it to beat Darkhawk. Maybe you're playing it to beat Devil Dino. I don't see Dino in the meta that often, but the fact that you have to either soul read it with priority, or your opponent gets to play around it, it's a tough sell for me. Again, I kind of think this is the most, like, boring of the effects we see this month, but it's not the worst. It's just the most boring. And it's got the eternal issue of being a tech card in Pool 5, which is always, like, I never like that, but, you know, it is what it is. And I think that ultimately it's probably good for the game that it get introduced sooner rather than later, because once it's kind of available to everyone, being a Pool 3 card, it gives more options for playing against decks that might take too good of advantage of ongoing effects. I don't think those decks exist right now, but I prefer that these types of cards get put in the game and then reduced to pool 3 as fast as possible. So it's good that it will exist. It's I think good that it's a 1 cost, and that's about all there is to say. This is just a very boring card that should exist. That's as much as I have to say about it. Next up, we have Legion. There were patch notes that said he's actually going to be a 5'8", I believe. So a little less understated. 5'9" is the vanilla stat line. So a 5'8" is pretty close. And for this effect, I think this card is going to see some play. I think this is a very interesting card. So 5/7 on reveal, replace each other location with this one. So I think when we first talked about this card, it said if this is played in the center location, turn all of the locations to that one. I think, but I might be misremembering. And got the crystal change of just like, I don't know, it just does the effect. You don't need to play it in the center location. And at a 5/8 that does this, I think I'm pretty hype on this card. The biggest use of it for me is going to be like flooding on 4 into Legion on 5, and maybe Jeff on 6, maybe, or just like winning because you were ahead in 2 lanes. Ultimately, doing stuff like making everything in Elysium going into 6, such that your opponent doesn't really see it coming. Like, ultimately, the value of this card is going to be the same value as Scarlet Witch or Quake, which is to say, you know you have it in your hand and your opponent doesn't know you have it in your hand, and that's the inherent value of knowing that turn 6, all the locations are going to be this, or, you know, in the form of Quake, the locations are going to move, or in the form of Scarlet Witch, in the, like, I'm going to change this location on you without you knowing. That all just has intrinsic value, and like all those cards, this is just kind of a reasonable stat line at 5/8 that the both of those conditions together lead me to believe this card will see some play, but probably isn't going to be a meta, like, defining card. But honestly, that's great. Like, I prefer cards like this that just give advantage to, you know, kind of tricking your opponent based on hidden knowledge. Great card. And finally, we have Mirage, a 2/2 on reveal. Copy the lowest cost card in your opponent's hand into your hand. Give it +2 power. So it doesn't quite draw a copy for... No, wait, copy the card into your hand. So I think this does count for collector stuff. I think, though I thought collector said draw. I don't know. The point is, it's a 2/2 that this is what Cable wishes he was, basically. So Cable is the 2/2 that draws the bottom card of your opponent's deck. This card, the fact that it tells you one piece of info in your opponent's hand, yes, it's their lowest cost card, but the fact that if you end up playing that card at all, this becomes a 2/4. I think that this is a pretty powerful mid-range tool in a lot of ways. You know, White Queen sees some play in fair mid-range decks some of the time, if only for the ability to draw, like, to get the info on your opponent. I think this is probably better in that type of a scenario. Just getting a copy of it, giving it +2 power. Like, if you hit a card that's hyper synergistic, it might not work so well for you. But even cards like that, like, you know, you hit their Patriot, right? We'll say, for instance, you hit their Patriot, and that's like a hyper synergy card in your opponent's deck. But it's like a 3/3 Patriot that's gonna give your rocks +2 because they're playing debris or something is still good enough, right? Like in a lot of ways, it's just good enough. And if you hit just like a stat stick with, like, you know, a minor downside, something like Lizard, your opponent's playing a lizard, like, okay, well, you have like a 2/7 now, you know? I really, really like this card. I fear I fear that this card is going to be very, very bad. And that's kind of how I've been feeling about Marvel Snap right now, is that cards like this aren't very good. And that's unfortunate to me, because when these types of cards are good is when I'm having the most fun. So we'll see. We'll see how this plays out. I'm probably going to try to, if I can get one new release this season other than the season pass card, it's probably going to be this one. This is I'm most interested in this card. I hope that it ends up being good, but we shall see. But I really hope so. Okay. All right. So I did some research in between that last recording and this one, and it turns out that the Phoenix does in fact take on the characteristics as well as the stats of the card which it revives. So that changed kind of, well, I think that's a more interesting card, but it also changed what I was doing with some of these decks. So the first one is, I think, probably the obvious one. And I think this is semi-optimal as far as that list goes. It is just the movement package and the destroy package kind of stapled together. All you really want to keep in mind... Captain Marvel is Phoenix, by the way, since they have the same stats. So, obviously, your ideal hit is Human Torch, but Dagger, Multiple Man, and Vulture are also fine hits. And so, we're going to use cards like Cloak and Ghost Spider to not... They do double duty here. Not only are they going to move your Human Torch stuff around, they are also going to move cards out of the way, because we want to be fairly careful. We for instance, don't necessarily want to Killmonger if Iron Fist is out. We probably want to avoid that, because we really, really want to focus in on just a couple of these cards. You know, we have 4 hits. Killmonger can hit Human Torch. Carnage can hit any of them. Venom can hit any of them. And we really, really do want to, you know, it literally, if you go turn 1 Human Torch, turn 2 Carnage, and eat your Human Torch, you're happy with this list. And then you just don't destroy anything else and you get the Phoenix, you're good, right? If you just play this as a regular move list after that, you're totally, totally happy. So this is just kind of those two stapled together. Okay, then we got Phoenix Focus. This one hyper focuses on just trying to hit what are going to be the 2 best cards, which are Human Torch and Multiple Man, with the Phoenix effect. So we forego Iron Fist, so we don't have as much of the move package here. So we don't have the other move cards, because we're not even really trying to play a move game. We're trying to get 1 payoff destroyed and then have it come back with the Phoenix. We'll play Chavez in hopes of increasing our chance to draw the 3 relevant pieces. This is almost more like a combo deck, in that you're trying to do in order, like Torch, Carnage, Phoenix. And if you can do that, you're pretty good. We've also included Hulkbuster, 1, because I have this sick variant that I want to use, but 2, because Hulkbuster is good on either Torch or Multiple Man. We've also, obviously, we have a little extra room, so we can include Deathlock. We really have to hit... The hardest part of this is getting a payoff card, because it's only Multiple Man and Human Torch. We don't have any other... There's nothing else you want to destroy. You don't want to destroy... Goose, you don't want to destroy Venom. Like, if you already Carnage something, if you Carnage 1 of your 2 hits, you cannot play Venom or Deathlock into that lane, because you do not want to dilute the pool of good hits for your Phoenix, okay? The other thing is that we're including Goose and Armor, because if we get our 1 good hit, right, if we kill our Human Torch, and we can then Armor to disrupt them being able to kill their Human Torch, we're going to be in a really good spot. And Goose lets us all but guarantee a win into the, like, one lane, because they cannot deploy any of their big cards there, but we can move Captain Marvel into that lane on turn 6, Phoenix into that lane on turn 6, and, you know, have it double its power or create a copy of itself, and also be unable to be shanked. And all of those things compound to make, I think, Goose a pretty good card. And then finally, we have the anti-Phoenix grind set, where a big part of what we're trying to do is just disrupt them. Like, we can just hit their Phoenix and be happy. We can make it so that they're less likely to draw Phoenix with this. Every time I look at the art on this card, it gets worse every single time. What is that fucking face? But yeah, if they destroy Widow's Bite, we can turn their Phoenix into possibly just a worse version of Vision, right? Or Captain Marvel. If we donate, we have the Hood and Sentry and Viper combos. So if we donate a Hood to them, like, in general, I was thinking this wouldn't be very good because, like, everyone's going to be running Carnage into the first week. But honestly, them Carnaging your Hood is totally fine, because it means that they might have a 5/3 Phoenix later that adds a 1/6 to their hand, and that's good enough. That's good enough. And obviously, if we can donate a 4 -10, we're also in a pretty good spot. And then finally, we have Green Goblin. Again, like, if they destroy this Goblin, we're super happy, because now there's a chance that they're gonna spend 5 energy to give us 3 power, which is pretty good. Debris can just work as both clog and to dilute their field with rocks. And again, if we're just playing an opponent that isn't playing the destroy package, Debris can just, like, be kind of backbreaking alongside the Widow's Bite. We can guarantee that some of the rocks will stay via armor. We can make it hard for them to destroy their stuff with armor. We can Cosmo, which is also running double duty. Not only will it make it so that they can't deploy their Phoenix into that lane, or sometimes it'll be a gotcha for the Phoenix, it also means that our Deathlock, if we're at a point in the game where Deathlock's on reveal becomes a negative instead of a positive, Deathlock becomes just a 3/5, Sentry becomes just a 4/10, and that's it. It's really just those two. I guess Debris to some extent, but I think we always wanted Debris. And then we have the Killmonger, just in case we have to get rid of, like, Hood or Spider-Ham early on. Generally, you don't want to Killmonger after doing a Debris play, but if it's gonna, you know, make it so that their Phoenix might hit a rock, sometimes you'll go Debris 4, Killmonger 5, but in general, it's more just to clear out Hood and Spider-Ham if we haven't drawn our Carnage or Deathlock. So overall, I'm really excited for the card. I'm glad it works the way that it does. I think it's going to push a lot of people into this deck, and so we'll see. We'll see how I feel about this card after a week of it being in every game I play. But for now, I'm excited. I hope you are. I hope you enjoyed these 3 decks. We'll definitely be playing probably all 3 of them for Bruise Day. And I hope that you have a great day, and I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you, everyone who made it this far, and thank you, everyone, especially on the screen. They are people who donate their time, their money, or sometimes both to make this channel possible, and they are as follows: The Tiny Ruby, A Frog in a Tent, Clips, Crayon Eater, Cole D, Polyhaze, Sartorius, Demisi, and KD. This channel would not be possible without their very generous donations, and though Pride Month is over, the same thing applies. If you donate to any queer nonprofit, you can have your name added here, and I will be launching some kind of way for you to donate money directly to me. I appreciate everyone who has been itching to do that for a while now. Soon you will have your chance, but it makes me slightly uncomfortable. But I do really appreciate it. It means a lot to me that people care that much. So thank you so much. I already said it, but I hope you have a great day, and I will see you all. I said tomorrow. You know what? Let's call it Tuesday. I guarantee there will be a Bruise Day, so I'll see you on Tuesday.